Okay, so Samantha, do you want to tell the audience how we first met?
I believe the first time we met I was dressed as a Dalek in person, which kind of tells you where this story's going to go. Alison and I first met on Twitter after I had an interesting experience with the Doctor Who Experience exhibition in London. I'm visually impaired and I tried various phone numbers to try and check out their accessibility in advance with very little very little success. So turned up on the day and spoke to someone at the desk and was told to speak to someone as I entered the exhibition. Spoke to someone as I entered the exhibition, they went and got someone else. This guy came back and I started saying I'm registered blind. He went, "You need an iPod," and ran off. Okay, that's a little odd, but whatever. And he came back and gave me this iPod, and the first thing he demanded was my driving licence as collateral against the iPod. She wants to get in a car I'm driving, I'll happily take that experience. Probably not a very good idea. We were a party of 8 people, and one of my friends went, "You did not just ask a blind woman for a driving licence," which made all his staff laugh at him, which probably didn't help with the later issues. They gave me this iPod and kind of muttered about buttons, didn't really explain what it did. And so we entered the interactive part of the experience where you're kind of in rooms with props, things appear on screens, there's sound effects and things. And we very quickly discovered they'd not connected it to the Wi-Fi, so it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. And after about 4 of my friends fiddling with it, we kind of shoved it in a bag and forgot about it. Later on through the interactive thing, we got it out and finally got it working and discovered that what they'd given me was a really, really tiny screen with really tiny subtitles. Yeah. So that was entertaining. I mean, you know, we were in absolute hysterics at this. Went round the non-interactive part of the exhibition and couldn't read any of the labels, couldn't read any of the descriptions, but I'm kind of used to that, and the person who, my PA's used to kind of reading things for me. There was a 3D element of the interactive bit which I knew in advance I wasn't going to get anything out of, but while we were in there did find it quite hard to know where to look because things kept appearing on different screens around the room that didn't necessarily appear as screens. And what was happening is by the time someone had told me where to look, the thing had finished. So it was quite frustrating. So I go to get back my disabled parking pass, not my driving licence, from the desk, and ask if there's an email address that I can contact the person in charge of accessibility. Didn't really want to have the discussion right there and then in front of everyone who'd come with us, including some people I'd only met for the first time that day. Would have much rather put it in writing, but the same gentleman who'd furnished me with the iPod was fetched. And I explained that subtitles aren't really what someone who's visually impaired needs from an exhibition. And he was very defensive, kept interrupting, calling me dear, told me that it was my fault because I hadn't contacted them ahead. I was only the second visually impaired person they'd had at the exhibition, so how were they supposed to know? And was just basically quite confrontational. I, again, reiterated that I wanted an email address, and he wrote it horizontally across a square of paper in the tiniest font he could manage, and gave it to me. So I'm quite embarrassed and quite cross by this point. I found the iPod thing a genuine mistake, quite amusing. If he'd have said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, what a stupid thing to do," I probably would have left it there. But I took to Twitter. And that's where you come in.
Yeah, the Twitter thing which is really great about the whole way that Pesky People set up was that it was just really, when you see issues happen, you think, well, why are these happening? And you just go, oh my God, not again. And I just come across a trans conversation with Samantha was having with somebody else I was following. And this was a month after it happened. So I tweeted her and said, well, what happened? Did they sort it out? And then we started having a dialogue and I thought, right, this is it, I've had enough. So 3 phone calls later, I'm talking to the head of Worldwide BBC, Worldwide Branding, and saying, by the way, there's a blog post online that you might want to have a look at. and I think it's been the most popular blog on Pesky People with some 100 hits in 2 days. So they did take notice. Do you want to tell them about going down?
Yes, they did. They were, all credit to the BBC. They did take things really seriously. They apologised. They said that the staff member involved hadn't intended any offence, and asked what they could do to improve things. So I suggested that an audio description track for the interactive bit of the experience would be really good. For the non-interactive bit, just having a large print copy that you could carry around with you of the different exhibits, the labels and the descriptions of the different exhibits would just be so helpful. It doesn't always have to be a high-tech solution. And suggesting that perhaps if people have an impairment, that maybe they could go through the interactive bit twice, so that they can, you know, after the first time I then knew where to look the second time through, and allowing people to exit the exhibition and rest for a while in the cafe without completing it all in one go. So they invited us back, myself, my PA and Alison. The BBC guy came and spent his Saturday sort of going through things with us, and sat in the cafe and had quite long detailed chats about what they could do to improve accessibility. So all in all, it was a very good success, really, and you know, we were able to write further blog posts on Pesky People outlining what they'd done and make sure that that was as widely distributed as the original one had been. And then now the web page that they have up for accessibility is just a lot more detailed. They have a lot more things available. You can contact someone directly at the experience rather than phoning C Tickets who aren't able to tell you anything about what the experience involves. So a success.
Yeah, leading on to that, you caught the bug, didn't you? So that was the first of more blog
20
posts.
plus now, I think.
Yeah. So from that initial tweet, you've become a blogger.
Yeah, for my sins. Just what led me here today.
And I mean, it's leading from that, because a big issue that's fundamental about going online and just like getting to places is booking tickets is a really big bugbear, and you can't book because you then have to phone a separate phone line and all the rest of it.
This was because Arsenal Stadium didn't really respond in any way, shape or form. I think they said they were going to respond within 24 hours. I think that was last June.
Yeah, we're still
waiting on that one. Yeah, I mean, the thing with booking tickets is, I'm sure other people have had this experience themselves, is that you try to find the accessibility information before the tickets go on sale, and it's non-existent. And then on the day you phone up and they say, no, you've got to phone our special accessibility line, but that doesn't open for another 2 hours. And then you phone up and then they say, well, we don't know, no one's told us what seats we can offer yet, or whether there's a 2-for-1, or what. And by the time you get to someone who will actually take responsibility, the thing is sold out. And even if it hasn't, you've spent a week rather than 30 minutes sat in front of the computer chasing these tickets. And the other issue that comes up a lot is the number of spaces. So I tried to get tickets to see the Killers at Leeds Academy, and after playing the usual telephone and email ping pong, I got to talk to their accessibility person, who told me that they'd all sold out. And when I asked how many tickets they'd had, it was 4, I believe, in a venue of about 3,000.
So there's 20% of the population, in terms of stats, is considered disabled, and yet they have 4 tickets out of 3,000.
And they blamed the council because that's the number of wheelchair users that the council says our staff can safely evacuate. I did explain to them that, you know, the idea of having a 2-for-1 is that someone has someone with them to help them evacuate in an emergency. But another issue that arises with tickets is treating everyone with a disability the same. So one of the things that Arsenal offered me eventually was to be on a viewing platform right down the pitch, from which point, even with my low vision aids, I'd have not been able to see anything. So that's an issue that comes up time and time again, really, and what we often find is that although venues have got certain things that they say, like they say they offer a 2-for-1 scheme, when it comes to certain performances, they blame the promoter and say, oh no, they're not allowing us to do that. So everyone blames someone else and no one takes any responsibility, and you're left as the sort of lone person pinging between one person and another and being perceived as causing trouble. So for example, the Coldplay tour, as part of the writing the blog for Pesky People, I investigated what was available at other venues on the tour, given that Arsenal had blamed the promoter. So at Arsenal I could have a PA, a carer, come with me for free, but I had to sit somewhere that was unsuitable.
It was in the gods, basically.
It was in the gods, yeah. At Manchester, a disabled person and their carer both got half price. At Newcastle, only wheelchair users were entitled to the 2-for-1, and it said that people who were ambulant disabled would need to consider whether they were safe on their own, but it was your responsibility to meet the financial obligations of such. So how can it be the promoter of 3 different venues on the same tour offer 3 different sets of accessibility?
On the flip side, and it's connected back with Doctor Who, you went to see a theatre production. Was it in Manchester?
It was here in Manchester, yes. It was at Media City. It was part of Manchester's International Festival, and it was done by Punch Drunk Theatre. And it was an interactive theatre experience, site-specific theatre. And it was advertised as a Doctor Who thing. What I was really surprised about is the day before we went, the director of the production phoned me to discuss my needs, which I was very impressed about. And she asked whether I wanted the artists to know about my disability, and I was perfectly happy for them to know. I'd rather a huge deal wasn't made about it. I'm probably going to have to use my white cane, so people will be aware. But it's probably best for safety that they're aware. She explained that there was some uneven ground, some smoke, some bits that were dark. What was fantastic is you had the two actors that were portraying the military personnel were with you throughout as you moved through different locations in space and time, as it were. And they were just so skilled. They didn't make any reference to my sight at any point, but they always made sure that they were stood very close to me when they were about to give hand gestures rather than verbal instructions. When they directed the group of about 20 people to do different tasks in a large area, they always made sure the person with me was assigned the same task as I was, and that the task I was given wasn't particularly visual, so I think we were guarding an exit rather than searching for something. And it was just absolutely phenomenal. And what was really very impressive was at the end the director came and found us and wanted feedback, and we were able to explain how helpful it had been and how brilliant they were. And I think I remember telling you they had one set of actors. They set off every 10 minutes moving through these sites, so they maybe had 6 or 7 sets of actors playing the same role with different parties. And they had one set who were able to sign. So if they had someone who was deaf or hearing impaired, they were able to sign the entire performance, which was phenomenal. And I think really shows what can be achieved when the will is there. This production only ran for 10 days. You know, it was something that was put on for a very short run, and yet they'd managed to do something really inclusive and brilliant. And having spoken to them, they really struggled to find a group of disabled people to test the site. They said that they borrowed some wheelchairs and wheeled some of the staff around in it. So they were really pleased they got it right, because they had been a little bit in the dark about it, and they'd just done a phenomenal job.
To me, that's exactly where digital culture and access really, really combines in the best possible way. Technology, eh?